Hey, what's up everybody? Back with another video. In this particular video, we will be discussing what went wrong with Game of Thrones. Now, Game of Thrones, the series, had a very large following due to its book origins and those who eventually got the chance to watch the television show. But one mistake that was made by D.B. Wise and David Benioff was that they dumbed the show down, in particular to bring in people who are soccer moms, football players, just a large plethora of a new entertainment audience that they tried to appeal to. And for the most part, this actually worked. It got more people who usually didn't follow the fantasy drama genre on a whole and got them to get more interested in Game of Thrones. But the one thing that I think that David Benioff and D.B. Wise didn't try to bet on in the long run of the show is that those that they did bring into the show would eventually get to the point where they liked the show so much that they wanted to expand their knowledge on the show. And of course, this meant that a lot of people ended up going to read the books, research the show, and go to other sources who had knowledge about it. In particular, think about how many people watched YouTube videos or started YouTube channels because they knew that the television series had a big following. Now, don't get it twisted in any form or fashion to think that the book did not have a big following, because of course the book series does have a very large following. But when you take the book series audience and those being introduced to the show due to the HBO series, you have a larger audience to engage with. And you're going to have to come to the realization that these people are going to be hungry for more information on this show. So that was one thing that I thought they didn't really count on. The audience itself getting a more in-tuned and larger IQ for the show and the property itself. So when we get through all these seasons and get towards the end, of course you're going to have backlash. These people have researched, read, fan theories, multiple things, and to get towards the end of a series and end up going this route, it felt uncomfortable. It felt rushed, because taking this route that they actually ended up taking with the overall series towards the end, it was too sped up. If you watch the series, if you're a fan of a series, even if you did enjoy the ending that they did give you towards the end, it was a rushed ending. And that was one of the things that a lot of people had a problem with. Now, as the show goes on and the audience IQ raises for this particular fantasy property, you have people who go back, look at characters, see arcs that are coming, and think to themselves, okay, we have a particular character. They've set a certain path for that character, but you go to the television series, and then you find yourself with that character saying, why did that character literally do that? You built somebody up to do a certain task, and this happened with multiple characters in this television series, and they never really quite hit that mark that you expected. Now, one thing that I thought that could have probably helped this situation is that if this show would have ended up having more of the fantasy elements that the book has. Of course, they tried to push some of those elements to the side so they could bring in a wider audience. But my main issue with this was, once you've got that wider audience, it's okay for you to say, okay, now we can level up some of the stuff we have. Now, they did do this to a certain extent, but not to the extent that you expected them to do. They took certain elements and went midway instead of going fully into them and explaining them and trying to push them into the series more. You had certain elements like the faceless man that they concentrated on for a certain amount of time and didn't push all the way that they could, meaning that they had surpassed the source material to a great degree, and they had to travel on their own road. But to think about it, them traveling on their own road kind of led to a messy ending, to be honest. In the end, Game of Thrones brought in a wider audience and brought in people who really did not watch stuff like this. It was a show that transcended the stereotypical setup you have for viewership and how you fit people in certain bubbles of, oh, this person watches this and that person watches that. This was the kind of show that brought everybody in. The only mistake that was made was that once they got everybody in, they didn't expand and take advantage of it. They could have brought in more fantasy elements, more source material, and showed the audience, hey, we got you here. You like what you see, we're going to give you more. And that was the biggest mistake they made. They did not think that their audience would grow with knowledge of what they were watching. And that was one of the biggest reasons that we got all the backlash that we got towards the end of the series, in my opinion at least. But that's going to be the end of this particular video. What do you all think? Do you think they should have tried to embrace the audience that they brought in and gave them more fantasy elements to help push the story along? Or do you think they should have done that and also tried to expand the series and make it longer? Because that ending, that just ain't it for me, Chief. Even if the book was to reach the same conclusion once they all come out, it was still rushed. This was something that if you're going to take that route, take the time to build the bricks, lay out the path, and then execute it. You just don't come with the blueprint and say, you know what, we got the blueprint. We don't have to put the whole road down. Let's go ahead and put most of the road just so you can get to the end. And that's what happened with the ending of Game of Thrones. So let me know what you think in the comment section. And otherwise than that, I will catch you all in the next one. All right, everybody.